Ladies and gentlemen, this is a response to real Canadians talking real healthcare. And folks, there are a lot of whoppers in this one. Right off the bat, some schlub says, I just don't get it. Every westernized country in the world has it. I assume she's talking about single-payer, universal health scare, but that's not the truth, sweetheart. I've taken several libtards here on YouTube behind the woodshed for making this very statement. Fact is, this is simply a page right out of Sicko. Yes, this young troglodyte is pulling information from Michael Moore's butt. Michael Moore ends the movie Sicko with a lie. It may not be an intentional lie, but it is a falsehood nonetheless. Michael Moore ends the movie saying that every European country offers free health care coverage to their citizens. And every European country provides such coverage through a single-payer system. Both statements are untrue. The government of the Netherlands takes 9% of a worker's paycheck every week to purchase health coverage. It's hard to figure out how Michael Moore can legitimately call such a payroll deduction free. Also, when the government of the Netherlands deducts that 9%, or when Germany deducts their 14%, they do not use, as Mr. Moore incorrectly claims, a single-payer system like Canada to provide the actual health insurance for each citizen. Each of those countries has multiple health plans or sickness funds that people choose among. Citizens of Switzerland and the Netherlands choose between competing health plans to purchase their coverage. So Sicko ends with a double lie. Coverage in Europe is not free, nor is it provided through a pure Canadian-like single-payer system. Sicko either deliberately misleads us or is unintentionally wrong. Each country in Europe has found its own unique path to universal coverage. Switzerland has no government health program at all. Everyone in Switzerland is required to purchase from one of nearly 100 competing insurance companies. The Swiss government pays for coverage for the poor. What about France, a country the fat man described as Eden in Sicko? The government uses a sales tax approach and uses that money to buy a basic, not comprehensive package of coverage for about 80% of the French people. The basic government benefit coverage is somewhat incomplete. However, 92% of the people in France now purchase additional private insurance to fill out the 20 to 40% gap in various parts of their government benefits. About 20% of the French people skip the government program completely and purchase only private coverage. In either case, the coverage isn't free and it is not handled through a Canadian single-payer model. There are rumors Mr. Moore offers $10,000 for anyone who can prove that any point in his movies is untrue. Since he says that every country in Europe uses the Canadian model, and since there are quite a few countries in Europe, does the fat man owe $10,000 per country, or just $10,000 for getting Europe wrong as a package? Or is it $10,000 per country on single payer and another $10,000 per country for free? Then, at the 30-second mark of the video, a man says, it allows us Canadians to sit at home, single-payer healthcare, to sit at home and know they're not going to get wiped out by medical bills. Actually, in a recent video I did, in 2006 and 2007, there were a higher percentage of medical bankruptcies in Canada than in the USA, and that was even using highly dubious criteria. For example, a man has $500,000 in total debt, yet only $5,001 of that was medical expenses. That doesn't sound like a medical bankruptcy to me. At the 155 mark, this young troglodyte pipes up, speaking of some Americans who think the Canadian system is less effective. How could you possibly trash being taken care of? Your whole family, 100% all the time, end quote. Before we respond to that, I'd like to address the premise of this video because most of it relies on generalization and talking points. If I went to the south side of Chicago and asked a couple morons who had been on Medicaid for life if they liked that system and they said yes, would that make it true? If I trolled a bus stop in New Jersey and asked several people if Medicare was a great system and they said yes, would that suddenly erase the fact that it's tens of trillions in the hole? If I asked a few people if Social Security was a good system and they said, it's great, it keeps me out of financial trouble, would that suddenly erase the fact that it's a legalized Ponzi scheme that's trillions in the hole as well? The entire premise of this video is nonsense. Back to Blondie's statement about her whole family being taken care of, having access to health coverage, doesn't mean you have actual access to health care services. There are other problems too, and we can see this in our system with Metascare. Advocates of the single-payer system often cite Canada as the paragon of virtue, but there is a slight catch-22. The Canadian social structure is on the verge of collapse. Healthcare costs would consume 50% of Alberta's budget by 2016, according to the Fraser Institute, or 2017, according to Aon Consulting, a firm hired by the Albertan government. Healthcare would devour 100% of the provincial budget by 2030 if present trends continue. Total waiting time between referral from a general practitioner and treatment, averaged across all 12 specialties and 10 provinces surveyed, increased from 17.7 weeks in 2005 to 17.8 weeks in 2006. This small nationwide deterioration in access reflects waiting time increases in 7 provinces, while concealing decreases in waiting time in Alberta, Ontario, and Newfoundland. Compared to 1993, waiting time in 2006 is 91% longer. Then we're subjected to a litany of, I had this, and she had that, and we got great health care. This is a large control group of about 12 people or whatever. This proves Canadian health care is great. Idiots. On the same note, let's ask Christina Woodkey what she thinks of Canadian single-payer health care. When the pain in Christina Woodkey's legs became so severe that she could no longer hike or cross-country ski, she went to her local health clinic. The Calgary, Canada resident was told she'd need to see a hip specialist. Because the problem was not life-threatening, however, she'd have to wait about a year, so she did. In January, the hip doctor told her that a narrowing of the spine was compressing her nerves and causing the pain. She needed a back specialist. The appointment was set for September 30th. When I was given that date, I asked when I could expect to have surgery, said Woodkey, 72 years old. They said it would be a year and a half after I had seen the doctor. So this month, she drove across the border into evil Montana and got the $50,000 surgery done in 2 days. I don't have insurance. We're not allowed to have private health insurance in Canada, Woodkey said. It's not going to be easy to come up with the money, but I'm happy to say the pain is almost gone. Then we have this. A critically ill, premature born baby from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada is all alone in a Buffalo, New York hospital after she was turned away for treatment at a local facility and transferred across the border without her parents, who don't have passports. Ava Stinson was born Thursday at St. Joseph's Hospital. This is a story from a while back. 14 weeks premature. A province-wide search for an open neonatal intensive care unit bed came up empty, leaving no choice but to send the 2-pound, 4-ounce baby to Buffalo. Evil Buffalo, that is. Here's a stunning revelation from the great frozen tundra. In British Columbia, private clinics and surgical centers are capitalizing on patients who might otherwise pay for faster treatment in the U.S. The courts will consider their legality next month. Hoping to capitalize on patients who might otherwise go to the U.S. for speedier care, a network of technically illegal private clinics and surgical centers has sprung up in British Columbia, echoing a trend in Quebec. In October, the courts will be asked to decide whether the budding system should be sanctioned. More than 70 private healthcare providers in British Columbia now schedule simple surgeries and tests such as MRIs with waits as short as a week or two, compared with the months it takes for a public surgical suite to become available for non-essential operations. Sorry about that. What we have in Canada, this is Brian Day, what we have in Canada is access to a government state-mandated wait list, said Brian Day, a former Canadian Medical Association director who runs a private surgical center in Vancouver. You cannot force a citizen in a free democratic society to simply wait for health care and outlaw their ability to extricate themselves from the wait list. Oh yes, they can, Brian. It's called the heavy hand of big government, your other mother. Then at 3:42, a woman says, I had surgery, I had chemotherapy, I had radiation, and I did not pay a cent for it. Really? The doctors did it for free? I can tell this woman has never had a basic economics class. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Lastly, at 4:55, you see a graphic on the screen. You can choose your doctor. Interesting. Among the 28 developed nations who seek to achieve access to healthcare insurance regardless of the ability to pay, Canada's healthcare system ranks third in expenditures.